One.
Hello and welcome back to another encouraging, inspiring, and including episode of the Achieving Unity Leadership System weekly podcast. Please put this on your calendar. This is a dialogue where we help turn complexity into execution, chaos into connection, and our purposes into action. I am your host, Mark Entrekin, founder of the Achieving Unity Leadership System, available at www.achievingunity.com, which is dedicated to all leaders, personally and professionally, to improving their lives, their family life, and their business life. We must remember that unity is not a soft skill. It is a true leadership discipline. Unity, like leadership, is not emotional. It is fully intentional. So today, I have the privilege of welcome Louis Swart to the Achieving Unity Leadership System podcast. Today's guest built his career on keeping things safe and running smoothly. We'll learn more about that here shortly. First, he was working in rail safety and in infrastructure, then in operational management, and now as the founder of Iron Bridge, a Sydney-based business coaching and virtual assistant company. He helps entrepreneurs stop doing everything themselves and start building businesses that can actually grow without them. He is the author of The B Myth, the host of Conversations That Matter, and one of the clearest voices I know on delegation, AI, systems, and reclaiming your time. But first, before we dive into this insightful dialogue, let me briefly introduce my company, Reality Focused Dynamics, where it all began. As you see on the first slide, Achieving Unity Leadership System podcast, which of course is us here, is about real conversations for leaders navigating division, frustration, and change. Leadership sometimes feels harder than it should. Too many times the disconnection is growing. The frustrations we find are draining the people and the teams. Our best intentions, those good intentions, are colliding with sometimes are just real world pressures. And unity is not a soft skill. It is a true leadership strategy. What do we mean by achieving unity? Well, achieving unity is about encouraging progress without enabling dysfunction. Don't just agree. Let's find out what we're doing, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. Let's inspire. We do it through inspiring action without forcing agreement. And we do that by including voices while maintaining accountability. Talk about it. Let's include everyone in that decision-making process, but still maintain the accountabilities that everybody does their job. Through this, we'll be building better businesses, better lives, and a better world, one conversation at a time. And I am your host, Mark Entrekin, founder of Reality Focused Dynamics and the Achieving Unity Leadership System. I work with leaders, teams, families, navigating conflict, change, and complexity. And when we talk about this, again, it's a leadership strategy, does not mean you don't have to say no at times, because sometimes we do. What we do is help people move forward, make that decision between right and wrong, good and bad, and do it with clarity, with unity and sustainable action. But let's talk about that because we have got to be focused. FOCUSCD, facilitate on clear, unified, sustainable execution and delivery. If we are not focused, where are we? Well, let's talk a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit more about focused, one letter at a time. Focus, the F stands for facilitate. We must implement those tough conversations that build trust. We must facilitate those conversations to create that trust and carry it forward. And we do that on common ground and shared purpose, that foundation to work from. That focus also comes with C for clear, communication and agreements. And that's where we go when we're focused because we will be unified across differences. And that unity is about being sustainable. These are results that last. They are sustainable. They keep going because through that execution, that consistent, responsible action, we have delivery. And that delivery is the inspired growth and lasting change that we need each and every day. So contact us. Let's promote more of this clear, unified, sustainable action starting now, starting today. Reach out to explore our coaching, courses, our workshops, or speaking engagements to promote unity leadership at home, socially, and at the office. Go to achievingunity.com or call me. Again, 303 focused, 303 362 8733. Achieving unity is the path to stronger relationships, inspired leadership, and lasting change. In today's world of uncertainty, unity is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. And again, this is a weekly podcast. So come back and see us every week. Next week, Margella Kampa is going to be here on the National Wellness Month, talking to us about wellness, situations, learned situations, how we can benefit and grow forward. The week after that, August 12th, Dr. Taint Bain is going to be here preparing us for the next generation. What's coming on in medicine? What do we know? What do we need to know? The next week, Daniel Aaron will be here talking about spiritual leadership. Where does your leadership come from? Let's come back. Talk to Daniel also on August 19th. And the week after that, August 26th, Sharon Ray. Mental illness, routines, and structure. August is all about mental wellness. Let's work together to go forward, improving for each and every one of us, as well as those around us. Please get out your camera, take a picture, go to my site now. This is a QR code to markentricken.com. Find out more. Get in touch with me. Be able to call me, email me. Let's talk. Now, here's another one. This is the powerful screen today. Please get your camera out or keep your camera out. Take a picture of this. This is more about Louis Swart. On the left, that QR code will take you to his website, ironbridge.com.au. Yes, he is based in Sydney, Australia. Talk more about that shortly. And then connect with him. On the right, QR code goes to Louis at ironbridge.com.au. So please take a picture, connect with Louis, make this action go from day to day from here forward. Well, who is Louis? Well, we're excited to welcome him today. He's a business builder, a growth coach, a virtual assistant systems expert who helps entrepreneurs scale their businesses through effective leadership, smart delegation, and efficient, effective systems. Drawing on more than 35 years of experience across finance, technology, and business development, Louis equips leaders with practical strategies to build high-performing teams, leverage AI-powered support, and create sustainable growth with greater clarity, greater purpose, and greater freedoms. Please help me welcome Mr. Louis Swart. Hey, Louis, how are you today?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great introduction.
Oh,
Love what you're doing, Mark. The stuff you're doing is incredible.
thank you, Louis. It's the same with you as you help us build more from what we need, where we are, and where we're going. So please, if you would, take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners, who you are, how your career led you from rail safety all the way to Iron Bridge.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Um, well, pretty much, I remember selling a business when I was 30. I sold a business for 5 million, and I remember sitting in the bank and them counting out the money. They actually had one of those machines on the table, they go, it goes grrr, and it counts out. They put
Yes.
an elastic band on it. And you feel a bit like a gangster, felt a bit like a gangster. And then putting it into my briefcase, beautiful feeling. And I was sitting there and I was thinking back to the businesses I had before. And I had a plumbing business. So when I was 25, I had a plumbing business. I had 10 people
Mm.
working for me. And I went to sell that business. And I thought, oh, no, I'm going to be able to retire. I'm going to get so much money for this business. And the guy, the broker said to me, he said, Louis, who does your quality control? And I said, well, I do it. And he goes, okay, who does the accounting? And well, I do it. And everything was like I. Because at the time, I still believed that old adage that we've all heard, if you want something done right, you need to do
Do
it
it yourself.
yourself. That's it. So we've all heard that, and we actually believe that. Lots of us still have that internally. And so I did that. And I was kind of like, well, how much do you think I can get for this? And he said, Louis, your business is worth nothing. And I still remember that sinking feeling with him saying my business was worth nothing because I hadn't learned how to delegate. I was a complete bottleneck in the business. And so that cost me massively because I'd already started another business and I literally had to just sell it for what it was worth. And then I moved to, when I sold this business for 5 million by the time I was 30. And then I moved to Australia and had a couple of epic fails, like every entrepreneur that I know, and some epic wins. In the last business, we grew to turning over 35 million, 450 staff. And along the way, I really learned how important delegation was. And I learned how little we do properly with regards to delegation. And the delegation, as we grow, the delegation changes. But the other thing that I started doing was I didn't feel wildly happy. I felt like I should be happier because, I've got everything that I wanted, but I wasn't happy. And so I went off on a quest to find out, like, I thought I was broken. I went off on this quest to fix me. And so I became a timeline therapist and a NLP
Oh,
master practitioner and a hypnotherapist and a matrix therapist. And I did all these different modalities to be able to fix me. Um, and along the way, I realized that a lot of small businesses don't necessarily have a business problem, they may have a mindset problem. So there's a combination of mindset and business, and we've got to get those really, really in line to be able to, do better in business. And that's why
right.
I do what I do now.
That is excellent. I see so much of what I can just feel a lot of what I do today that
Yeah.
I shouldn't be doing because of what you just said. And then your first story, the situation of wanting, just thinking, you're going to sell the business. It's going to be worth millions. And people can say, oh, this company's worth millions. But when you get down to that bottom line, when you get ready to put that for sale sign in the yard of the business, you learn a lot pretty quickly, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then you learn how much you've actually delegated, and you learn if you've got a job or if you've actually built yourself if you built yourself a business or you built yourself a glorified job.
And it may be turning in a lot of money per year. You may have equipment. You may have a good address list. But when it comes to someone writing a check for that, that's a different picture, isn't it?
Well, if we think about it, most of us go into business for one of three reasons. We want to have more time with our kids, family, hobbies, whatever. We want to, sell it. We want to be able to sell it one day, or we want to have a legacy. We want to leave it to our children. And all three of those have got one thing in common. You are not in the business. So that's the one thing that's in common. You actually have to be able to step out of your business if you want to sell it. You have to be step out of it if you want to have time off. You have to be able to step out of it if you want to leave it as a legacy. So that's why it's super important that we learn how to step out of it, how to actually delegate and let somebody else run it so we can actually take some time out or do those things we want to do.
And a lot of us, don't we feel, oh, I can't do that. If I step out, maybe I won't have my own ego. Maybe this won't happen, that won't happen. But from what I'm hearing you saying, and I can relate to this, that's exactly where you need to be. The
Hmm.
people that you have doing the work for the business, need to be able to carry on without you. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have, that's what I wrote this book about, the busyness, the B myth, the busyness myth. And now we meet people and we go, how are you? And what's the first thing that people say? I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Right? Okay. Um, and what we've done is in society, we've gone, if you busy, Mark, you're probably in demand, which means that you probably really people love you. They must love you if you're busy. Okay. If I'm busy, people must love me because they all want to use me. If I'm busy, I really must be worthy because everybody likes me. You know what I mean? If I'm busy, I really must be safe because nobody else could do as much as what I'm doing. So we've attached worthiness, love, and safety to being busy. So when it comes to time and we say, hey, Mark, let me help you delegate, let me help you get less busy, let me take some of that work off you by somebody else doing it, you're like, will I be as safe if I'm not doing everything, if somebody else is doing it for me? Am I really needed as much? Am I as worthy? You know, or will people still love me if I'm not doing it? Somebody else is doing it. And so those things all come into it as well when we've got to delegate. Those are things that we don't normally think about. Normally, we just think about, okay, you need a system. So you need to be able to, you do this, and then you need a checklist and you need an SOP. And you do need a checklist and SOP. But I mean, we just go, I need a checklist and SOP, and then my VA or whoever I can delegate it. But it's much deeper than that. We've got to, we've got to learn how we can actually let go of trust, because lots of times we only trust that we're the only person that can do it. We've got to learn how to let go of control because it's not necessarily going to be doing exactly the same as what we did it. So,
Let go of control. Sorry, I have to repeat those words. You just said we have to let go of control. Just because we're working, or like you're saying, we're busy, where is the value? That's just such a
absolutely.
great point we have to take on. And a lot of us don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear whether we have it written down. Oh, I have written notes. I have a list or I have it on the computer. I abuse Outlook. I have my little pop-ups. But those right there, whether it be on your task manager, written down on a piece of paper, like you're saying, that ability to let that job be handled by someone or something, because so much today is, as you talk about it, you do a lot, is with AI, and hope to talk about that more in a minute. But that's what we have to do is give it up and let's
Hmm,
turn that work over to someone or something else so that it's not as dependent on us. Am I catching that right?
absolutely. Well, a shocking statistic is 8 out of 10 small businesses are going to fail within the first 2 years. 8 out of 10. Now, I mean, you think about that, you go, that's a lot of people.
That's
Eight
80%.
people, 80% fail in the first 2 years. And the worst part isn't even that they fail. The worst part is that they've actually, you've left your corporate job and you've gone, I'm going to go into business for myself. You've told everybody goodbye. I'm never going to see you again. Basically, I'm, starting my own business. And then if you failed, you're going to have to come back with your tail between your legs. You told all your family, I'm an entrepreneur now. And if you fail, they're going to go, well, you're not as good as what you thought you were. So those 8 out of 10 that aren't making it's a terrible situation to be in. And I've been in that situation several times. And I can tell you the 2%, you know, that are making it, oh, sorry, the 2 out of 10 that are making
Mhm.
it, they're doing stuff different to what the general people are doing. And one of the things that they're doing is they're learning really well how to delegate. They're learning what their time is worth. And I know for me, I would do a task and I'd go, oh yeah, I saved some money because I did this book. It was skew, and so I went on Canva and I spent an hour and I got it, correct. And I saved some money because I would have had to pay somebody to do that. And it's like it's such a ridiculous calculation because you actually lost so much money and
In time.
in time. And I've got a calculation if you're interested, where people can actually work out what their time is worth. Would you like to know?
That would be excellent. I think our audience would be thrilled. I know I would be.
Okay. So before I start this, I just want to say, preface it with information without any action is really just entertainment. So if you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you. And you're being wildly entertained if you finish this and you go, oh, that was great, and you go on with your day. Amazing. But if you want to really get motivated, if you really want to move to the next level, you're going to implement something, one thing from this podcast. You're going to implement one thing from every podcast that you listen to. And the one thing that I would love you to implement today is actually working out your value. So, how we do that? Let's say you went tomorrow and you got a job. If you went and got a job tomorrow, Mark, they would probably expect you to come in maybe 40 hours a week, yeah? About 40 hours a week. And that you'd probably be expected to work about 50 weeks in the year. So 40 hours by 50 weeks in the year gives us a figure of 2,000. Now, I have the 2K principle, the 2,000 hour rule. And literally, what we do now is we say, okay, how much do I want to earn in the next year? So let's say I want to earn, $200,000 in the next year. I've got 2,000 hours to do that in. Maximum. That's the maximum hours that I've got. So if I want to earn $200,000, I've got 2,000 hours to do it in. So I divide 200,000 by 2,000, and that gives me a figure of $100 per hour. I have to achieve that figure every hour to get to that goal. So now we have a benchmark. Now, if you're in business, corporate says, Mark, you need to bill at $200 an hour. They tell you what you need to bill at. But as soon as we go in and we're working on our own, nobody's telling us that figure. So now we've got this figure, and it's $100 an hour to get to our $200,000. So now I start playing around and moving this book, okay? And it's a $10 task. And I'm doing this $10 task. And I'm going, you know what? I actually saved $10 because I did it myself. I didn't use help. I didn't get anybody to help me. The reality is that I've actually lost $90 because I should be on $100. So the next hour, I need to make $190 just to make up for that time that I lost to be able to achieve my goal. So it's super important that we know that if we've on $100, if we're doing, and let's take podcast, for example, if we're doing a podcast and we talking to the guests, getting the guests coming in, doing all the preparation work of their profiles, their QR codes, editing the podcast, those are all $10 tasks, right? If we're actually doing the podcast, we're actually following up with the clients, we're doing, presentations, we've got lead magnets that we can offer, we're doing affiliate programs, those are all high value. And if we're doing the high value, we're going to reach our goal. If we're doing all the $10 stuff, there's just no way we can physically reach our goal. And here's the cool part. I toyed with this idea for a very long time. And I came up with a mini vision board. And literally, this is the mini vision board. You get a post-it note, just a normal post-it note. And on the post-it note, you write down what that figure was. So if you want to earn 100,000 in this next year, you would write $50 on the post-it note. If you want to earn 200,000, you'd write $100 in the post-it note. Whatever that figure is, I suggest you double it because you don't want to be working 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year in order to make your money. Okay, but let's start off with this figure. So now we stick this figure somewhere that we can see. Okay, and now I'm busy doing this post-it, I'm busy doing this Canva, and I'm trying to arrange it. And then I look at my post-it note and I go, would I pay somebody $200 an hour to alter this picture on Canva? And I go, hell no. There's no way. I mean, I'd be crazy to pay somebody $200 an hour to do that. And yet I'm paying myself $200 an hour.
Exactly.
So once you've got this post-it note, so literally just write down that figure on a post-it note, stick it on your computer, stick it somewhere completely visible, and I promise you it will change your life. because you've got a visual representation. And I'm not a post-it note kind of guy. I don't have post-it notes everywhere. I've got one post-it note, which just is a monetary figure because I think it's a very low-tech solution that anybody can do. But every time I'm doing stuff, I look up and I go, would I pay somebody $200? No, I wouldn't. I shouldn't be doing it. And literally just keeps you grounded, constantly brings you back to, that grounding.
So let's kind of go back to it just a second. If you can't get it, this is what you just mentioned. I'm not say it right, but if you can't get $200 out of it, should you do it?
Now,
If that's,
would you pay somebody $200 to do it? Would you pay somebody else? Would you pay a random stranger $200 to do that task?
and if not,
Then you shouldn't be doing it.
that's beautiful because that's how strong and how powerful each of us can be, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just knowing your worth. It's literally just getting there and knowing your worth, you know?
Knowing you what you can do, know that value. That's excellent. Well, before we get into some of these details, that's a beautiful story. And that part about information without action is just entertainment. There's a lot of entertainment going on in a lot of our lives. We
Absolutely.
want to think about that. Well, just quickly, would you share your goal or maybe your priority that has your full attention right now? What are you building toward most actively yourself?
I've got a couple of goals that I'm working on. On the personal front, I'm actually doing 100 podcasts in 100 days. I've set myself a goal to do 100
Oh,
podcasts in 100 days. Pretty close. I'm pretty close. I've done 90 in the last 120 days, and I'm kind of ramping it up. So I'm kind of keeping a 100-day trail, but that's just something that I'm doing for fun. Obviously, it increases your visibility massively, and it just allows more people to know about your product. On a technology side, um, we're building AI agents. We're building AI agents every single day. We're looking at businesses and going, what are the processes? Because AI is a beautiful thing, okay?
it
And you could
is.
literally go in AI and you could play all day, and you could go in AI and you could create things that you think are amazing and nobody else wants. Or you could go to businesses and say, what is a problem that you've got? And let me solve it. And then you could create an AI that does that, that solves it. And, the things that we used to do yesterday, are completely different today. Literally, things that we did a week ago, we are now actually going in and saying, well, we don't do that anymore. This is the new way that we do it. And so it's looking at what are the new technologies that are coming out? I mean, you look at the agents, we were building agents before. We built agents before and then we built them on N8N and they were complicated. They were really complicated. You had to put in all the different steps and everything. And I mean, now with Claude Code and with GPT work, I mean, you just go bing, 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 bing. You actually just tell it, listen, I'd like it to do X, Y, Z, and it does it for you. Incredible, incredible.
It is, and it brings in files for people that are using AI more. AI can be your partner because you don't have to type numbers in anymore. You
Hmm.
can just have it read spreadsheets. You can have it read information. There's scanners now. You can pick up information. The AI can pick that up and read it for you. Because one of the things it does for me is it takes out all of the redundant tasks that drive me crazy. It helps in ways that we don't think about until we need it. And
Yeah.
then, do you ever ask AI, how can I do this? Or AI, can you do this for me? We're using Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or any of them, Copilot, which I have eight of
Yep.
them, seven of them on my machine. Do you ever ask AI, this is what I need. Is there a better way to do this? And then you get AI ideas also.
Absolutely. Every single time. Every single time. So what we generally would do is, and I mean, this is something that people just say, hey, AI, can you do this for me? And it goes, yeah, I can do it. What we want to do is we want to say, ask me 5 questions. Before you do this, I want you to ask me 5 questions separately, one at a time, so you actually understand what it is that I want. Always ask it to ask you 5 questions. Once it asks you the five questions, it's got much better context. And I'll tell you a little story. I'll tell you a little story. So I teach people AI, and I say, all right, let's say we were going to write a story on Little Red Riding Hood, okay? And we're all in a class, and I have a classroom, and I go, okay, we're all going to write a story on Little Red Riding Hood, and we all go, hey, give me a story on Little Red Riding Hood, and it comes out pretty generic, okay? Little Red Riding Hood's there, goes to Grandma's house. Then I say, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to take something that you like or something that you think about, and I want you to accentuate it. So if you think about unicorns and rainbows and fairies and, and then say to AI, I really love unicorns and fairies and the prince riding off into the distance on the horse and all that like Disney type stuff. Yeah. Write me a story on Little Red Riding Hood. And the next person says, look, I really love the movie Saw, like where the guy's got to cut off his leg and the door, the walls are closing in on him and he's got like an x-ray and it's got a key behind his eye and he's got like a scalpel and he's got to cut it out of his own eye. Write me a story on Little Red Riding Hood. You can imagine the two stories are dramatically different. Okay. Because it's catered for you've given it some sort of context as to what you like and what you would like the story to look like. But then in business, we say, hey, write me some copy, write me a post, but we don't give it any real context. Whereas if we say, hey, I would like you to write me a post, ask me five questions before you actually write this post. It will ask you stuff that's just incredible and it'll really get a deep insight into what you actually want before it does the content for you.
And on that same perspective, and I use this a lot because I will write my post and then I will turn it over to AI and say, did I write this perfectly? And I always do say perfectly, but I don't say better, I don't say good. And I let it come back and give me ideas. Because one of the big worries about AI is it going to take people's jobs? AI is not going to take people's jobs unless you don't know how to use AI. Because AI is a tool, just like all the
Yeah,
other things that we use from cash registers to our vehicles, which are now using AI also. AI is not taking the jobs, but not knowing how to use it will. That job will take someone else who knows AI will be able to take your job. So using those AI systems, like you're saying, can grow so much. And one of the ideas that you just used about what you tell AI, because if you go to AI and you say, AI, I've got a car wash about a half mile from me here. Is it better to walk or to take my car? Well, if depending on how you get there, it may say, well, you can walk. Well, if I
yeah,
walk, can I wash my car? So you have to make sure you're telling AI all those figures, which I think you handled very well with ask me five questions or ask AI to ask you those
mm,
five questions. It's a
yeah.
great way to do that. Make sure that you're both on that same page, right?
Absolutely. And it depends on where you are in the AI journey. Like if you're just starting out, literally the five questions. But as you get a bit more advanced, you can actually get your agents and you can do the council. And the council, you have one person that's absolutely against the idea. And I want you to be 100% against the idea. And then you want the accountant in there, the accountant to just go like, well, how are we going to make money out of this? Tell me all the facts and figures. And so you have a boardroom like you would have a normal boardroom where you've got all these different characters in there. And then you say, I'm going to give you an idea. And then you give it to the boardroom. And then the boardroom goes, the accountant's like, well, like, how are you going to make money? How are you going to make money from this? The naysayer is telling you all the things why it won't work. Okay. You know, um, and so these five people are discussing it amongst themselves. And then you have a moderator, and the moderator is putting it all together and saying, okay, this is what our final decision was on it, which gives you a much more rounded result. Because, AI says, you're doing a great job, Mark. You're going to go wash your car.
Oh,
You're
thank
doing a
you.
great job. And then you go, well, I'm not going to wash my car today. And it's, well, you're completely right. You shouldn't wash your car today. And you go, oh, well, just it agrees with us. It looks like it agrees with us no matter what we say most times. So,
And it compliments you a lot too. So you have to be careful with those compliments.
100%. And it is good. I'll tell you a personal thing. So, this shiny object syndrome, right? is a problem. And it's a problem for a lot of us. Me, I have a big problem with shiny object. AI has got a big problem with shiny object syndrome as well. All right. So I go in and I'm like, hey, I want to put this book over here. And AI is like, you know what we should do? We should get that book and we should actually make like a watermark across the page with it. And I'm like, that's a great idea. And they go, well, while we're doing the watermark, what we should do is we should probably take the post-it note, which is the theme, and we should put that in the corner. And I'm like, that's a great idea. And then while we're doing that, we should probably update your this with the post-it note. And we should do that. And then I end up doing none of it because, like, literally, it's like that friend who's just got a million ideas, but you're not getting any actual stuff done. Um, so that's it.
Information
That's it.
without
The
action is
danger.
just entertainment, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have another cool phrase that I use, and it's called productive procrastination. I don't know if you've heard this
Productive.
term before. Have you heard
No,
that term
please go ahead.
before?
Uh-uh.
So as my businesses grew, I initially started off and I had like massive to-do lists. I'll start my day and I'd say, these are the 30 things I'm going to accomplish today. And then I'd get to the end of the day and I hadn't accomplished, I ticked off a lot of stuff on the list, but I hadn't accomplished the proper things. And one thing is my credit card. My credit card and I, we've got a love-hate relationship. Okay. When it comes to reconciling it, I hate it. Okay, because I've got to remember what I spent $47.50 on, 3 months ago at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? And I've got zero idea, but I've got to find it. So I come to my desk and I go, okay, I'm going to reconcile my credit card statement. My accountant's already been calling me saying, Louis, I need the credit card statement because we got to sort out the tax. And I'm like, okay. And I get to my desk and I go, on my desk, I'm going to do my credit cards now. Then I go, my desk's a little bit untidy. Yeah, and I mean, Mum always said, clean desk, clean mind, clean house, clean mind. I'll clean my desk. So I clean up my desk, put some books in the bookshelf, and then I go, oh, the bookshelf it's like a little bit messy. So I'll just tidy up the bookshelf. Okay. And then I realize that there's a bit of dust on the floor. So I get out the vacuum and I vacuum the floor. These are all amazingly productive things. Please clean your desk. Please clean your bookshelf. Please vacuum the floor. They are all productive. But are they productive? Procrastination. Are you doing a productive thing because you're actually procrastinating from what you should be doing? And so, as businesses grew, I ended up coming to work and just having one goal. So I would go to work and I'd say, today I need to accomplish this one thing. Okay. And you know that your day is going to be filled with a million other things, but your day was only a success if you accomplished that one thing. And people say to me, what's that one task? What's that one task that I should cover? And I generally say to them, what's the one thing that you really don't want to do today? What's that one thing that you know will move your business, but you don't want to do it? And I had a lady and she said to me, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. And I said, like, well, just tell me, what do you hate doing? And she goes, I hate invoicing. I hate invoicing customers. And I said, okay, have you got any customers that you should be invoicing now? And she said, look, I've got two customers. I haven't invoiced them for a month. I haven't invoiced them for a month, and I know I need to do it because I haven't got money and I need to invoice them so I can get paid. And I said, well, that is your one thing. That is your one thing right there. So, what's that one thing you don't want to do? That's the one thing you want to do. And all the other stuff around it is productive procrastination if you haven't finished that one thing first.
That's something we all need to remember. Productive procrastination. Doing things that, sure, they need to be done. You're not wrong by doing them, but you're not doing the one thing that needs to be done, must be done today. You have some great ideas and great concepts in that process. And what I'm hearing from you, though, is would you say that delegation is less a management skill and more an act of trust? Because most people struggle with it for emotional
Hmm.
to delegate that work. More of an emotional, not a maybe even like procrastination is more emotional. But Would you say that delegation is less a management skill and more of an act of trust, and that most people struggle with it for emotional and not practical reasons?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Most of us struggle with delegation because we've actually attached us working with us being valuable or us being safe or us being loved. So we've actually attached it to those things. And so by us letting somebody else do it, we actually aren't as valuable, we aren't as safe, we aren't as loved as what we previously would have been if we did it ourselves.
And it's we
When
we
I was,
think we're not as loved, right? It's not that we're not, but that emotional we
we're
think
more
we're not,
valuable.
right?
Yeah, we're more valuable, we're safer, we can spread, if you're out there and you're helping the world, and then you get people to help you, you're able to help more people in the world, which means that you actually, you're worth more, you're loved by more people, you're safer, but we
You're
don't have that
helping
as
more
a
people.
thing. Yeah, we sort of feel like if we get people to help us, then maybe we won't be needed. Um, and you not being needed is the very best possible thing you can do for your business, you know. And I remember I was young and I was pretty arrogant when I was young. I was 25. I had two businesses, and money was rolling in. Like, things were good. And I went to, and I had an older mentor, and I said to him, I said, I can't get anybody to work for me. That people nowadays, they just haven't got the ethics. They haven't got the work ethics, right? Like they don't even want to work through their lunch break. You know what I mean? Like lunch break, they actually want to take a lunch break, and it gets to 5 o'clock. They actually want to go home at 5 o'clock, and they're not working as hard as I am. And I think I should just do it all myself because I can't get anybody to work as like I'm working. It's just ridiculous. Okay. And my mentor said to me, he said, Louis, could you get somebody to do 60%? Could you get somebody to do 60% of what you do? I mean, you'd have to be pretty arrogant, hey, to go like, somebody couldn't do 60% of what I do. So I was like, yeah, they could do 60%, just over half, just over half. Yeah, they could do 60%. So he said, okay, so Louis, you hire the first person, and now you can do 160% of what you could do yesterday. And then you hire the second person, and now you can do 220% of what you could do the day before, and so forth and so forth. And it's just a numbers game. You just hire more people and you can do more. Now, I mean, all the people that have done it will know that there's attrition. So, like, it's not like exactly like that. But the concept is the more people you're hiring, you're putting in place, the more you can actually accomplish.
And again, it's back to the action because when you hire people, you want to make sure that they know, they understand what they need to do. They need the instructions and
Absolutely.
the concepts to be able to do that. And one of the things
Absolutely.
you're talking about is the with the leaders, have you found a way to help leaders let go of that control you're talking about, get rid of that insecurity that they may have without feeling like they are abandoning that quality or accountability of their own?
The whole premise behind what I do is based on the delegate, elevate, accelerate principle. So if you want to grow your business and you're working in your business, you can never grow, right? Because you can only work so many hours. Like, I mean, you can't 10 times your business. You can't do 10 times as much work as what you're doing today, unless you just do no work today, but I mean, you
You need more
can't,
than
as
24
most of
hours
us.
to do that, right?
Yeah, well, literally most of us can't do that. We can't do 10 times what we're doing. So how do we actually accomplish that? You know, the first thing we need to do is we need to learn how to delegate. Once we learn how to delegate, we can then accelerate ourselves out of our business. Once we accelerate ourselves out of our business, we can see what's going on. And now we can elevate ourselves out of our business. We can see what's happening in our business. Now we can start working on our business, not in our business. And now we can accelerate. And I'd love to tell you a little story about a story that's always been close to my heart. there's this they're building this road through the Amazon, okay, and it's like back in the day, and they've got axes and they've got these, the woodsmen, and they're chopping down the trees, and they've got a axe sharpening station, and they've got somebody making snacks for them, and you know and they look around and they go, "Where's the boss?" And the boss is nowhere to be found. And they're like, he should be here. He should be chopping down trees with us. He should be sharpening the axe. He should be like helping, with all this stuff. And they do this big revolt, and they decide they're going to go look for the boss because he's obviously just asleep under a tree or something. He's just relaxing. And they go looking for the boss. And there they find the boss. And he's literally climbed the tallest tree in the forest, and he's at the top of the tree, and he's making sure that the road that they're actually going in the right direction. He's making sure that all the stuff, all the work that they're doing is actually going so they're in the right direction. And literally, that's where you want to be in your business. You want to be at that point where you're climbing the tree. You're not there sharpening the axe. You're not there cutting down the tree. You actually have climbed the tree, and you're going, "Hey, AI is coming. Are we able to use it? Are we going in the right direction with this whole venture that we're doing?"
That's a great story. And it actually just you answered the question that I was about to ask before I asked it, but I'm going to toss it back out again because maybe you can add a little bit more to it. Can you share what it looks like when a business owner, that person at the top of the tree, finally delegates well? What changes for them personally and professionally once they're doing that?
I think if you can actually walk away from your business for a couple of weeks, a month, and your business runs without you. I just came back I was in Africa for 3 months when my parents weren't well, and I was in Africa for 3 months, and my business grew while I was in Africa. So I was in Africa, and my team was running everything for me. Um, and that's how you know that you've got a business, is your business is able to run without you. Obviously, they still need some direction every now and then. Um, but by and large, they're able to run. They're able to run autonomously. So you're not the person actually having to be there in the business every day. And I think that for me personally, I've found that this is something that people struggle with because we've got AI coming in and we're all talking about AI, AI, AI. But the same problems that we have with delegating to a human is the same problems we have with delegating to AI. If AI is doing my job, am I worthy? If AI is doing my job, do people need me? Am I safe? If AI is doing my job, will people still love me? So the same things that we've got with delegating to humans, we've got with delegating to AI. So it's
And
working out how do we get beyond those, how do we get beyond those beliefs that we've got and go, you know, virtual assistants or staff in your office, they are literally a tool to get to where you want to go. AI is a tool to get to where you want to go.
and that's what we need to focus on. It is a tool. It is something that we can use, and like you do, Louis, you're teaching others how to use it and teaching them how to grow forward, aren't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's so many cool things we can do. I have a meeting report. So just I'll give you my personal progression if that's okay. My
Please.
virtual assistant used to do a meeting report. So when I had a meeting with a client, she would actually sit down and she'd go through and she'd work out, she'd research them on the internet. She'd look at their LinkedIn. She'd look at all their stuff, and she'd say, "Well, what does this client do?" And so she'd give me a report on what they do. Um, and then we built an N8N agent that did it. So the N8N agent would it would split off into two. One would go and look on my computer, one would go and look on the internet, but then it would come back and then we'd have to manually take that and put it into like Google. And then a new agent came out which ran locally. So it was similar to OpenClaw, uh, but it actually just ran on my computer on my bookshelf, and it was called Hermes. And I said to Hermes, "This is what I need you to do. the N8N one, I've got programmers that had built that over probably 3 or 4 weeks they took to build it. The Hermes one I built in about an hour, just talking to it, telling it what I wanted, and it started doing it. And then Claude came out, and now Claude does, the Claude code, and you can use that, and literally you can do it with that. So now I just say every morning I want you to go in and look at all the meetings that I've got for today, and I want you to find the person. Then I want you to find out all their details. I want you to scan my computer and see if I've ever worked with them before. And then I want you to create a meeting file for me with the details that you found from the internet, plus the details you found on my computer. I want you to attach that all into one report. I want you to tell me what similarities we've got, how we could work together better. Okay. Um, and I also want you to look at their social media and tell me kind of what sort of following they've got, if I can help them with anything along there, and then suggest a couple of ways that I could assist this person. And I want you to run every morning and I want you to give me a report. And then what I want you to do is I want you to look on my computer, see if I've already got that person as a client. If I don't, I want you to actually open a new file and I want you to save that person's name. I want you to create a folder with their name. I want you to save that meeting report in there. I also want you to take that meeting report and I want you to attach it onto my Google Calendar for the meeting. So if I open my Google Calendar now and I click on this meeting, I've got a meeting report written by AI all about you. It's looked at our previous meetings, everything. And I did that all. I was able to do that just talking to Claude Code. I mean, that's literally the level that we've got to. Now, if you're not doing that and you've still got a virtual assistant doing it, that's great, but it's costing you money. Why don't you get your virtual assistant? You do that, and then your virtual assistant looks at it and says, "Oh, hang on, there's two marks, and it's picked up another mark. Just fix those couple of things, and then rerun it, or have a quick scan through it. Yep, it's right, and then you do it." So now they're not spending so much time doing that. They're just putting tweaks on what's already there.
Continual process improvement, right?
Absolutely,
That's where we have to
absolutely.
focus. So I think you touched on this just a little bit in your last example. How else are you fitting AI into your coaching? Are you helping entrepreneurs replace people, or are you actually freeing people to do more of what people can do?
That's a that's kind of a loaded question because in some cases you actually are able you're just replacing their roles. That doesn't mean that you're replacing that person. So I've got somebody who does recruitment, and I now have an AI system that actually can talk to people, interview them, do recruitment, like do the whole process. So now I'm saying to that person, I don't need you to do interviews anymore. I don't want you to do an initial interview. I want you to do the final interview. Okay, so AI will do the initial interview. It'll pull all these people up. When they get to there, I want you to do the final interview. And now you've got to look for additional things on them. I need you to do a whole different role. Um, and so they're still working. They're just doing a different type of work. And I'll give you another example. I'll give you another example. Okay, I spoke to this old guy, and he was a draftsman. And he said to me, Louis, we used to get a big piece of paper. I don't know if you know, they used to get a big piece of paper and they used to, when they drew a house plan, and they'd get literally a ruler and a pencil. Okay. And they would literally draw like this, and they would draw like that's a bedroom and here's a door. They would literally draw it on a piece of paper. And then they'd get a pen and they'd make it on a pen. Okay. And the whole, to draw a house plan would take about a week because it would literally be drawing on a piece of paper. And then he said his boss came in, and his boss is like, "We've got this new system. It's called CAD, and it will actually, you can just go in there and go, put me four walls, and it'll put four walls, and you move them in and out, right?" And he said, "You're going to be able to draw a house plan in a day." And he said, "What? You mean I'm going to have the rest of the week off? This is going to be amazing." Okay. And he's like, and first of all, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job because if this can do it in a day and I take a week, I'm going to literally lose my job." And his boss sent him for training. And then he came back and he was able to do a house plan a week. Now, his boss didn't say, okay, we only want one a week. His boss said, well, I want five a week. It was in 5 days. I want five of those a week. And so he still had the same workload, but now he was producing five a week. And then CAD got better. And he said, and then they could do, one an hour or one every 2 hours. And his boss didn't say, well, okay, you can have the rest of the day off. His boss said, well, you can now do, one every 2 hours. I want four a day, or I want three a day. And I want you to spend some time on the phone talking to customers about, showing them the plans or whatever. And AI is very
Teaching
much like
others.
that. It's very much like that. AI is like it's allowing us to just amplify what we do, which is this incredible tool where we can just amplify anything that we do. So I think it's amazing. And I think the
I think it's
future's
amazing.
really
I
cool.
think, yeah, I think your story is amazing. So it talks about that. Because one of the things in that same story, as you're talking about it, when it's one per week, and then five per week, and then 10 houses per week, then in that process, we learn as we go. And isn't there quality assurance that comes in there also? So again, as you're working on this, and as people are helping, people are coming together back to those same five questions you're asking AI, or you're wanting AI to even ask you. That is another form of quality assurance, which we need more people to do because, believe it or not, we have to teach AI. AI just doesn't know, sure, it knows
Absolutely.
everything that used to be in our encyclopedias, for example, but
Yeah.
we teach AI to give us what we want and what we need. That's just, it's excellent that you do that. But we're getting close to the end. We go by so fast. You got such great stories, Louis. This is tremendous. Would you help me? Just share one shift in thinking or behavior that creates the biggest possible change for the entrepreneurs that you coach. The one shift in thinking or behavior that creates that biggest positive change for the entrepreneurs you've coached.
In all honesty, if you do the post-it note, if you get the post-it note and you put the post-it note up and you start realizing what your time is worth, because you've got 2,000 hours, who are you giving those 2,000 hours to? If you're doing more than the 2,000 hours, where are you getting that time from? You're stealing it from your wife, you're stealing it from your kids, you're stealing it from your health, you're stealing it from your fun. You are taking that time from somewhere. And so get that note, put it up there, and stick to that figure. Look at everything and say, is this worth it? If you're sitting at your desk and you're working, should you be doing this? I think it's such a powerful concept. And you'll see that that note will change. You'll start off with maybe $50 on your post-it note. And then you'll go, okay, well, now I'm earning more money. And now it'll become $100 on your post-it note. And eventually it'll be $1,000 on your post-it note. And I hope you get to the point where you're doing 10,000 and $100,000 on your post-it note. Would I pay somebody that per hour to do this job?
Beautiful. I love your ideas. Louis, thank you so much for investing your time, sharing your wisdom with all of us today, and coming in over here. What time is it your time right now?
It's 7 o'clock
It is 7
in the
a.m.
morning. In the
Yes.
morning, yes.
It is 7 a.m. You're coming in here and helping us and working with us. I appreciate it. I want to say thank you for the clarity that you bring into something so many entrepreneurs and a lot of us as family members and as people feel, but cannot or have not put a name on it. And that sticky note you're talking about, that $50 an hour, $100 an hour, $200 an hour, what is your time worth is so value. The business that is supposed to give us freedom, the time that's supposed to give us freedom has becoming the thing that is keeping us stuck, isn't it? But it doesn't have
Absolutely.
to stay that way. Systems, delegations you talked about, and the right support can give us our time, our leadership, and our lives back so much. Louis, thank you so much. So to connect with Louis, visit with him at www.ironbridge.com.au. Again, that's Ironbridge, IRON, B as in Baker, RIJ.com.au. Pick up his book. You see it in the background on his right hand side, our left hand side, The Bee Myth. and follow conversations that matter wherever you listen to podcasts. But before we close, Lou, I'd love for you to just leave our audience, and maybe you've already given it to us, but that one memorable thought that we can all carry with us this week going forward.
Mark, thank you so much. This has been incredible. And I think the work that you're doing is phenomenal.
Thank
You're
you.
allowing people to condense time and you are literally helping to create more of those the 20% that are actually going to succeed. And the one thought that I want to leave you with is if you've listened to this podcast, thank you. But if that's all you've done, this has been entertainment. If you leave this podcast and you put up a post-it note, you literally are going to be able to move to the next level.
Beautiful. Louis, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome. I think one thing in today's conversation has become clear that real change, those improvements happen when people come together with purpose and when that vision meets action, as you said. Information without action is only entertainment. That will stick with me for a long, long time. Louis, thank you so much. I hope all of you took a picture of the slide earlier in the podcast with Louis' QR code. If not, this full podcast will be available on YouTube at // at Mark Entrekin before the close of business on Friday. So it will be ready for you on Saturday morning to watch the video as you enjoy your morning beverage, with you have tea or coffee or whatever you have Saturday morning. Take a break. If you watch this video, watch it again. Give us feedback. Get in touch with Louis as Achieving Unity continues to resonate with you, because unity is strong. Follow that feeling. Reach out and connect with me at www.achievingunity.com, www.markentrican.com, or call me at 303-362-8733, which I hope you will remember. It's 303 focused on your phone keypad. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Louis, for your message and for helping us understand that the business we build to give us freedom should not be what is keeping us trapped, right?
Absolutely.
Louis, thank you so much. So again, until next week, this is Mark Entrekin with the Achieving Unity Leadership System, reminding you that life is truly what we make it. So let's make it awesome together, achieving unity and bringing in and listening to people like Louis today to make tomorrow better with that sticky note on our table, on our wall. And remember, what is your time worth? Let's help everyone around us feel seen, heard, and supported in everyday moments, the ones that truly matter, and make life awesome again together in unity. Louis, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Let's continue to work together. Hope
Perfect.
to
Thank
see.
you so much.
Oh, thank you. Hope to see you all again next week with our next step in remembering. Unity is not a soft skill. It is a leadership discipline, the discipline that takes us to the success we have always wanted. Till then, cheers.